As we near the conclusion of an exciting season, there is plenty to discuss and both Manchester clubs can hold their heads high, although they still have work to do over the course of the final weeks. Manchester City remain locked in a fierce battle with Liverpool for the title, while Manchester United need to bounce back from a defeat to Arsenal prior to the international break as they look to seal a top 4 spot in the Champions League football that comes with it. This side are also eyeing an unprecedented quadruple, having already lifted the League Cup, while United continue to fight on in the Champions League after United's heroics in Paris. There is a fierce debate as to who is the best manager in the Premier League, and we have looked to draw a line in the sand once and for all, with our regional journalists from 8 centres at Reach PLC taking part to give their assessment on all 20 managers currently employed in the division. You can check out everything they had to say here, and we are sure you won't agree with everything they had to say. Man City. 1 Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. The trophy count speaks for itself, but the success comes with wonderful football as well. No modern-day manager can match the influence he has had on the game. City Centurions were phenomenal last season. If he wins the quadruple this season, it will be a feat that will never be repeated. Football.London writers, his critics claim he only wins so much because of the cash and players at his disposal. Then again, you don't stick a Formula 1 champion behind the wheel of an old banger. Guardiola's teams play great football, dominate leagues, and win an abundance of silverware. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, the coach who sets the benchmark. For Liverpool to finally end their title drought, they will need to amass a Premier League record points haul. And that's down to this man. His teams also play football from the gods. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live on track for the unprecedented quadruple after last year's 2-trophy haul. Yes, he's had the money to spend, but Man City are superb. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live his teams play terrific football and have a genuine winning mentality to boot. The quest for 4 trophies highlights the quality of Manchester City and their coach. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer, Guardiola's standing as number 1 is in little doubt in my opinion. He's dominated football across Europe and created the best Premier League side we've ever seen. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. While it's a surprise that Man City aren't flying away with the league title, after losing 4 games, to still be challenging on 4 fronts is a testament to Guardiola's high-class coaching. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live keeping his club on course for a historic quadruple. If they pull it off, Guardiola will enhance his reputation as the greatest manager of his generation. Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool, 2 Football.London writers, 2 titles in the Bundesliga but no silverware with Liverpool. Klopp has made the Reds a force to be reckoned with again, playing exciting football and getting to the odd final, even if he has so failed to get over the line. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has taken Liverpool from pretenders to contenders, and they've matched City stride for stride this season. The silverware remains elusive, but Klopp has had a huge influence on the club and they play in his image. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has turned doubters into believers, restored that so influential bond between fans and team which had been eroded under previous bosses, has recruited magnificently, created a team which plays football to stir the soul, and has reached 3 cup finals. Already. Okay, he hasn't won anything yet. But it is surely only a matter of time. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer: Klopp has team play some great football, but, like Pochettino, he hasn't won a trophy in England, and Liverpool have spent a lot more money than Spurs. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online: his side are currently top of the league, albeit Man City have a game in hand, and in the last 8 of the Champions League. He's done a tremendous job with a squad which is far thinner than many of Liverpool's rivals. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, providing plenty of hope for Liverpool fans that their wait for a first Premier League title is coming to an end. More success in the Champions League can't be written off either. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle Live, still going on 2 fronts. Liverpool have a brilliant opportunity to win the Premier League, and Klopp has built a team to thrill. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire Live, striving to achieve something no Liverpool boss has ever done: win the Premier League. His side's attacking force is one of the best in Europe. Mauricio Pochettino, Spurs, 3 Football. London writers: under Pochettino, Spurs have become a top 4 staple with the lowest wage bill and transfer budget in the top 6. Arguably the best manager, pound for pound, even if his trophy cabinet is bare. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has worked wonders at Tottenham given their wage bill and transfer spend. Every result, good or bad, seems to change the narrative around the club, but Pochettino has undeniably done a great job there, although he could do with a trophy to show for it. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor: there's a reason why he's consistently linked with the very best jobs out there. A coach who combines flair with good old-fashioned pragmatism. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle Live: no signings for a whole year, the team camped out at Wembley for the 2nd successive season. You could make a case that Poch is number 1. A superb job to keep them alive in the Champions League while closing in on a CL place again. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, continually linked with other jobs because of the quality of his work at Spurs on a tight budget and the upheaval of switching grounds. He is right up there with the best coaches in the game. Could still shock City in the Champions League, even though they have had a recent wobble. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Despite Tottenham's budget being much smaller than the other big six clubs, Pochettino has managed to find a way to compete through excellent coaching and recruitment. I'm amazed Spurs have managed to hang on to him this long. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Tottenham haven't been able to spend any money. They've not been able to move into their new home and, despite a blip of late, they've challenged at the top end of the table. Remarkable management from Poch. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, lived despite not signing any players in the transfer window and the ongoing issues surrounding their new stadium. Pochettino has kept Spurs in the top 4 mix yet again, even without key man Harry Kane when he was out injured. Nuno Espirito Santo, Wolves, for Football.London writers, the Portuguese has made good on the promise of a Wolves side packed with quality this season, which could lead to interest from other clubs in his managerial abilities. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live richly backed, but Wolves have had a season to remember. All eyes on the FA Cup, but they could yet sneak into Europe, which is some achievement for the first season back in the big time. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, looks like Wolves will be the best of the rest this season and could yet reach the FA Cup final. Nuno has been a tactically interesting manager this season, and their results against the top 6 have been impressive. Somehow contrived to lose twice to Huddersfield, however. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has shown that promoted clubs can aspire to more than just survival in the top flight. They can flourish, and can do so by playing expressive football. An imaginative and forward-thinking modern manager. Video loading. Video unavailable. Click to play. Tap to play. The video will start in 8. Cancel play now. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. I'm probably a little biased, but the job Nuno has done at Wolves is remarkable. Yes, they have some very talented players, but Wolves spent less than Fulham in the summer. His coaching of Connor Cody and Matt Doherty in particular has been extraordinary. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. After storming to the championship title last season, Nuno has kept the nucleus of his squad the same but added quality in certain areas. Could feasibly finish 7th and win the FA Cup. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Live lost twice to Huddersfield Town, but has been impressive in guiding Wolves to a comfortable position in the table in the FA Cup semi-finals. Looks the real deal in the top flight. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live first season in the Premier League and already they look like they can challenge the established top 6 in future years. It has been an impressive debut. Rafa Benitez, Newcastle, 5 Football.London writers, His CV speaks for itself, and after delivering trophies at Valencia, Liverpool, Chelsea, Napoli, and Newcastle, he is now delivering minor miracles on a shoestring budget for the Magpies. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has kept Newcastle in the Premier League despite Mike Ashley's woeful ownership and a squad that looks like it should be in the Championship. Achieved success at Liverpool and Chelsea in the Premier League as well. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. No one on Merseyside needs reminding of his tactical genius and his ability to produce a team greater than the sum of its parts. He won the Champions League with a squad containing Jamie Traore, Jose Mate, and Tony Elliott-Olick. He has kept the basket case of the club, which is Newcastle, in the Premier League, on a shoestring. Still one of Europe's top coaches. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle, live. Is there a manager doing more with less? Benitez's NUFC had a horrific start but are now flying, and it's all down to his skillful management and supreme tactical nous. Surely safe now. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live. Considering all the off-field distractions at Newcastle United, he has done a remarkable job and looks like keeping them up once again. His career coaching record speaks for itself and always conducts himself with dignity. Alex Dicken, Birmingham live football writer. Similarly to Nuno, Benitez is getting the most out of his group of players. Benitez's job has been made incredibly tough by owner Mike Ashley, yet he continues to lead Newcastle to better than expected finishes. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Rafa the Gaffer continues to work wonders with limited resources at Newcastle, suggesting he could return to a top 6 job once again. A very widely experienced manager. Rob Tanner, Leicester City editor for Leicestershire, live. Rafa is the glue that is keeping Newcastle stuck together. The fans hate the owner, who refuses to acknowledge their complaints at how the club is run, but Rafa has quietly gone about his business. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Man Utd, 6 Football.London writers, what a start for the former striker at Manchester United. Can he build on his early impact if he gets the job full-time? We wait and see. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has transformed the mood around United over the last 3 months on and off the pitch. Away wins at Tottenham, Arsenal, and Chelsea speak for the improvement at United, and whatever happens in the future, he will always have that unforgettable night in Paris. Must get the job permanently. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Even by new boss bounce standards, his revival of Manchester United has been impressive. But memories of that catastrophic Cardiff spell linger. Is he just another Roberto Di Matteo? Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle, live. Reinvigorated a club that was flatlining under the special one. Memorable win in the Champions League. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town editor for Examiner, live. An ideal fit for Manchester United and could be higher up the pecking order on the job he's done so far, but his previous spell at Cardiff wasn't good, so could he be a one-club wonder? Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer: some of Solskjaer's results have been impressive, but it's far too early to tell if he can be United's answer to the men at the top of this list. The fact of the matter remains that United are almost certain to end the season trophyless after their FA Cup exit and have a battle on their hands to make the top four. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online: many doubted that he was the right man to replace Jose Mourinho, having struggled with Cardiff in his previous Premier League management stint. But what an impact he's had at Old Trafford, though has one or two things to prove between now and the end of the season. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire: the season was drifting away for United under Jose Mourinho and not a lot was expected of Solskjaer, but he has transformed their fortunes. A group of high-profile, talented players have now become a team that can push for European glory. Javi Gracia, Watford, 7 Football.London writers: another manager doing great work to defy expectations this season. Gracia may have broken the cycle of sackings at Watford to prove his quality as a coach worth sticking with. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, lasted more than a season at Watford, which is an achievement itself. An understated boss, but he's done a fine job at Vicarage Road given they were tipped for a season of struggle. Has done such a good job that people have realized he's not actually called Javi Gracia. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor: the Hornets are happy they now have a better boss than the man he replaced. Time will tell, but for the time being he hasn't put a foot wrong. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle: the Hornets have consolidated so well this season. The FA Cup run is impressive from a team that are difficult to beat and pack a real punch. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner: no one takes Watford for granted these days, and that's a mark of respect for the job done by the Spanish tactician at Vicarage Road. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online: the Spaniards side are in the FA Cup semi-finals and competing for that best of the rest 7th position. Watford are an excellently coached, well-disciplined and aesthetically pleasing side, thanks to Gracia. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer: I've really enjoyed watching Watford this season and they put in a complete performance at Wolves in October. To have a club of Watford's size challenging for Europe in an FA Cup semi-final is superb. Maybe Gracia is finally the man to buck the managerial trend at Watford. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online: the Spaniards side are in the FA Cup semi-finals and competing for that best of the rest 7th position. Watford are an excellently coached, well-disciplined and aesthetically pleasing side, thanks to Gracia. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire live the revolving door policy at Watford continues to defy the established perception that stability is required for success. Now it is Gracia who has kept the Hornets buzzing. Who it will be next season remains to be seen. Unai Emery, Arsenal, 8 Football.London writers, Arsenal's new head coach will be aiming for fourth this season and has proven his ability to win trophies, especially the Europa League at Sevilla. He still has much work to do at the Emirates, but early signs are promising. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, would be a fine achievement to secure a top 4 finish in his first season, given Arsenal have the weakest squad in the top 6. Did a great job at Sevilla and is now showing the potential to repeat that success at the Emirates. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, a Europa League specialist at Sevilla, Emery is showing the same knack at the Emirates. A talented coach enjoying a solid first season with Arsenal with the potential of much more to come. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle live the Gunners have been so hit and miss this season. That fine run at the start of the season has given way to more of the same from Arsenal. We'll need time. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner live anyone taking over from Arsene Wenger was not going to find it easy. How many bosses have Manchester United had since Sir Alex? But he has the Gunners right in the top 4 battle. Alex Dicken, Birmingham live football writer, it's difficult to judge Emery. Arsenal haven't exactly improved dramatically since Arsene Wenger's exit, but there have been signs of change. Given time and financial backing, Emery could turn Arsenal into contenders once again. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online, quietly going about his business in very assured fashion, having replaced Arsene Wenger. A top 4 finish and a Europa League title? That would be a dream season. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire live they started brightly enough, but Emery has quickly discovered that the Arsenal job is much bigger than perhaps even he realised. There is some talent there, but a lot of work is required on that squad. Manuel Pellegrini, West Ham United, 9 Football. London writers, from title wins in his native Chile and with Manchester City to leading Malaga and Villarreal into the latter stages of the Champions League, Pellegrini is showing that West Ham fans can have classy football and results this season. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, one of the Premier League's quiet managers. Has immediately improved the quality of football at West Ham this season, even if the results have been a little hit and miss. A title winner at City and impressive work in La Liga with Villarreal and Malaga. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, bears more than a passing resemblance to Argentinian genius Cesar Luis Menotti and, occasionally, produces teams to match. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. The Hammers looked like a basket case this time last year, but Pellegrini has brought a real air of assurance. Inconsistent, but he's turned things around in East London. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. I thought West Ham would perform better under Pellegrini, particularly after some big transfer business in the summer. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. The Chilean, like Howe, has been a steady hand on the tiller this season. That's not been an easy thing for anyone to do at West Ham in recent seasons, so deserves due credit. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live. After a miserable start with 4 straight losses, he has picked West Ham up remarkably well, and their supporters are no longer biting their nails. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire Live. The atmosphere at the London Stadium was starting to become toxic until the former Manchester City boss restored some calm and has quietly turned the tide for the Hammers with effective performances on home soil. Eddie Howe, Bournemouth, 10 Football.London writers, a top half finish for the Bournemouth boss. Fitting given his work in cementing the Cherries as a Premier League side that play good football on a budget. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. On their day, Bournemouth under Howe are excellent to watch. But they have stalled a little after a great start to the season and can be too easy to play against. Plenty of Howe's big money signings have flopped. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle Live. Probably a measure of the job he's done. That mid-table is slightly deflating given the way they started. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, has been able to spend, and, while Bournemouth haven't been able to maintain their early season form, they are still entertaining to watch and will be safe once again. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Always on the radar whenever Everton appoint a new boss, which has been far too often in recent years, but there's a reason for that. A bright and innovative young coach. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Keeping a club the size of Bournemouth ticking in the top flight is an achievement, but they've invested heavily in house purchases haven't always been smart. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Howe continues to be a steady Eddie on the south coast. You feel he may need to move on to truly test his managerial credentials. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire Live. His work has started to become underrated, but keeping a club of the size of Bournemouth competing in mid-table in the Premier League remains an incredible achievement by Howe. Maurizio Sarri, Chelsea, 11 Football.London writers, inflexible and now more committed to his vision for how football should be played. Under Sarri, Napoli played beautiful, attacking football. At times, Chelsea have looked surprisingly beatable. The jury remains out. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. Sarri ball has had its difficulties in his first season in the Premier League. Signs of promise in a flying start, but there's a sense Chelsea have been found out now. needs to show he has a plan B, or a better plan A. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. It's easy to forget the outstanding start to the season Sarri made, and how unfortunate they were in the Carabao Cup final. But Chelsea expect and need more. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle, led the biggest underachievers in the top flight. With the talent at his disposal, Sarri has looked like a man lost at times. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. His stint at Chelsea may not have gone entirely to plan, but they're still keeping pace with the top four. If Chelsea finish in the Champions League places and win the Europa League, having already made the EFL Cup final, that wouldn't be bad, would it? Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. All does not appear well at Stamford Bridge, despite the stunning start Sarri made in charge of Chelsea. Murmurs of discontent and question marks over the Italian's job sum up the situation he's currently facing. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, lives still in the Europa League in the hunt for a top four Premier League finish, but his first season at Chelsea has provided problems he appears yet to solve. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live. This has been a massively disappointing season for Chelsea, and at times it has been farcical, as Sarri's unsuccessful efforts at substituting his own goalkeeper in the League Cup final demonstrated. Neil Warnock, Cardiff, 12 Football.London writers, a football dinosaur according to his detractors, and not only due to the way he sets up his teams to play, Warnock has nonetheless enjoyed 4 stints of top-flight football as a manager. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, keeping Cardiff up would be his biggest achievement yet, but they're not exactly easy on the eye. Don't ask him about Brexit. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, a manager who creates one-dimensional, uncomplicated football teams capable of scrambling out of the Championship but incapable of staying up. Everything new? No, isn't. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, led the Bluebirds have no right to be in the survival mix given their resources. But Warnock's methods are keeping Cardiff fighting, and they have a real chance of staying up against the odds. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, lived promotion-winning hero at so many clubs. Keeping Cardiff City up would be arguably his greatest achievement, especially after the trauma and sadness of the Emiliano Sala tragedy. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Warnock's methods are dated, but still he gets a tune out of Cardiff. If they stay up, it will be an incredible achievement. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Nobody expected Cardiff to win promotion last term, let alone mount a strong bid to stay up. Warnock has operated on the league's lowest budget and could still perform the miracle of safety. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, has repeatedly performed miracles to get teams promoted to the Premier League, but if he keeps Cardiff City up, it will top the lot. A colourful character that the Premier League needs. Ralph Hasenhüttl, Southampton, 13 Football. London writers, the Austrian has won multiple titles in his homeland, shook up the Bundesliga with Ingolstadt and RB Leipzig, and has been tasked with keeping Southampton safe. Some notable results suggest he could be on track to do just that. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. The Clump of the Alps has a terrible nickname but a good record in Austria and Germany. You can see the comparisons with Clump and Southampton have improved under Hasenhüttl, but they're not safe yet. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Saints have proved adept at unearthing managers coveted elsewhere. And Hasenhüttl could follow Koeman, and Pochettino is another shrewd appointment. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle, led Saints looked a lost cause when he arrived, and although they're far from safe, the Austrians done a great job to keep their heads above water. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. We haven't seen a lot of Hasenhüttl Southampton, but the signs are good. He's turned around the Saints season with some good results, and I reckon they'll stay up now. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Southampton have certainly improved since his appointment, but the proof of the pudding will be in whether the Austrian can keep them in the Premier League. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, has brought improvement to Southampton despite being a relative unknown when appointed. Still has to make them safe, however. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire Live, Saints looked doomed before the German coach freshened things up, and he seems to be getting the best out of his squad now. James Ward-Prowse has been reborn under Hasenhüttl. Chris Hugton, Brighton, 14 Football. London writers, Hugton will always be the manager who finally guided Brighton back into the top flight, and also did good work at Newcastle, Birmingham, and Norwich after leaving his coaching role at Spurs. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, harshly sacked by Newcastle and Norwich, but has proven he can manage in the Premier League at Brighton. Some of the big money signings of last summer haven't worked, but safety is within their grasp once again. A classy operator. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, always underrated, but always enjoys the respect of his peers. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle Live. After a fine start, Brighton fell away a bit, but the FA Cup offers salvation. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, a likeable coach respected throughout the game. He will keep Brighton up for a second successive season and has also guided them to the last four of the FA Cup. Always underrated. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Huddersfield's Brighton are into the FA Cup semi-finals and on course to beat the drought once again. He's also one of the classiest people in the game. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Brighton are a very middling side, but that shouldn't stop Hugton from gaining plaudits for doing a very solid job keeping the Seagulls free from danger. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live unbelievably. Earlier in the season, some Brighton fans wanted a managerial change. Huddersfield has done a tremendous job guiding Brighton not only into the top flight but making them relatively competitive too, especially on home soil. Sean Dyche, Burnley, 15 Football.London writers. He brought Burnley up, went back down with the Clarets and won promotion again, having strengthened his squad. The question with Dyche is what next? Unless he can show he has greater ambitions for how his sides play, more ambitious jobs may elude him. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. Last season's 7th place finish at Burnley was a magnificent achievement, as was winning the championship a year after relegation. Needs to show he can get his team playing better football if he wants to shed his next Big Sam image. Relegation this season would dent his reputation. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has discovered just how tough it is to juggle Europa League commitments with a Premier League campaign, but that shouldn't undermine the excellent job he has done at Turf Moor. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live a big disappointment, but it was always going to be difficult after their brilliant season last year. Alex Dicken, Birmingham live football writer. His style of football isn't for everyone, but you'd be pushed to find a manager who gets more out of his players in the Premier League than Dyche. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online, from the dizzying heights of finishing 7th last season. To seeing his side firmly ensconced in a relegation battle this term, it's not been a campaign to remember for Dyche and the Clarets. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live has worked wonders for Burnley and took them into Europe, but they are far from safe and the manager has points to prove. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live Burnley massively overachieved last season to reach Europe. This season they have massively underachieved, mainly because of the distraction of Europe, but the Clarets will stick with Dyche, who even has his own pub named after him. Roy Hodgson, Crystal Palace, 16 Football.London writers, the elder statesman of English football, steering Crystal Palace to safety, having built an impressive career across Europe and later with Fulham and West Bromwich Albion. England and Liverpool fans may have misgivings. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has found his level at Palace. Got the best out of players at Selhurst Park and they can be good to watch. Failed when given a chance at Liverpool and England. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, almost wrecked the Reds. Wrecked England's Euro 2016 campaign. Hasn't wrecked Palace's Premier League hopes yet. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live the Eagles are so inconsistent, but Hodgson looks set to keep them up again. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live will probably squeeze just enough out of Palace to keep them up. That's about all you can say. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. The Premier League's oldest boss isn't being left behind by any means. If Hodgson's Palace hadn't started the season so miserably at Selhurst Park, they might have been in with a shout of Europe. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. There's a sense that, although Hodgson will surely keep the Eagles clear of relegation this term, they should be doing better. Wilfried Zaha is one of the most dangerous players in the league. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live. The Eagles have one of the best attacking forces in the division, but they are so inconsistent. On their day they can take the game to any side, but when they are not at it they can roll over. Brendan Rodgers, Leicester City, 17 Football.London writers, enjoyed immense success with Celtic after taking Liverpool as close as anyone to a Premier League title. His habit for coining a catchphrase has seen him cast as a figure of fun, but Rodgers is a sharp tactician. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. His record at Swansea, Liverpool, and Celtic stands up to scrutiny, but plenty find it difficult to get past the Brentisms. Would be better off sticking to the football rather than the talking. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, unfairly castigated in some quarters. He produced a sweet Swansea side, a Liverpool team which was one Steven Gerrard slip from winning the title and dominated in Scotland. Early days at Leicester, but he's a talent. A talent who isn't shy of telling people of his expertise, but a talent nonetheless. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live not been back long enough to properly assess. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Live has a fine record, but it's too early to judge what his impact at Leicester City might be. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Rodgers has history in the Premier League, so Leicester's decision to appoint him looks a shrewd one. Early results have been good too. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. He's done okay since being appointed, but it's too early to make a true judgment on Leicester's boss. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live. Why yes, it is early days, but back-to-back wins, including the victory with 10 men at Burnley, have demonstrated that Rodgers may be able to get the most out of what is undoubtedly a talented City squad. Marco Silva, Everton, 18 Football.London writers. Is he the real deal or a worse version of Andre Villas-Boas? At Watford and now Everton, Silva started strong before seeing results and performances drop off. Unconvincing even if his CV would suggest otherwise. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has somehow earned a big reputation despite limited success in the Premier League. Worked wonders to get Hull in a position to survive, but then blew it in the run-in. Javi Gracia has had more success at Watford and Everton should really be finishing 7th. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Silva would have been right up there on this list a couple of years ago, but he's gone downhill rapidly. Everton are punching well below their weight this season and Silva's under pressure to offer hope for next season. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Everton are arguably the season's biggest underperformers, a side who should comfortably be the best of the rest. Silva has work to do if he's to satisfy expectations at Goodison Park. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live Everton moved heaven and earth to get Silva. Many Toffees fans now wish they hadn't bothered. Millions spent on players and still they look miles off being a side that can challenge the top six. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Not really lived up to his reputation at Everton, and survival rather than challenging for Europe means it's not been a good season for club or boss. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Going into the Anfield Derby in December, Evertonians were upbeat, optimistic, and even tentatively anticipating a season-defining success. They might have got 1-2, until Jordan Pickford's blunder kicked them so hard they struggled to recover. But he has recruited well and occasionally produced performances which hinted a brighter long-term future. Sunday's defeat of Chelsea has to become the norm. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live so much money spent, so little progress made. Silva has to be under pressure. Jan Seward, Huddersfield Town, 19 Football. London writers, prior to taking on the Huddersfield job, Seward was in charge of Borussia Dortmund's second team. It's too early to say how he matches up to more experienced managers. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, should have given it to Martin from Wakefield after all. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. David Wagner. He isn't. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. It's impossible to judge Seward this season with Huddersfield completely and utterly doomed. A win against Wolves sees him pip Parker to 19th. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. He's won a Premier League game, which prevents him being bottom of this list. The German's real work starts in the summer. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Live joined Huddersfield Town in extremely difficult circumstances, but there are signs he is putting his own stamp on things and, despite the results, there has been improvement in performances. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live new boss hasn't been able to reverse the decline. Big test comes next year in the Championship. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live Seward took over a lost cause at Huddersfield. The ship was already sinking when he took over, and he looks like he is going down with his ship to rebuild in the Championship. Scott Parker, Fulham, 20 Football.London writers, thrown into the Fulham job as the club's third manager in a season that seems doomed to relegation. Parker isn't in last place due to ability but because of uncertainty. Who knows whether he has what it takes to be a manager? Only time will tell. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. Difficult to judge on limited evidence so far, but while Fulham are playing better football, they're still getting beat, which is a problem. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has struggled to turn the Crusaders' fortunes around. But then so would Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle. Live, what a horrendous season for the Cottagers. Their third manager hasn't been able to change much. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, lived difficult task at Fulham after a season of disappointment following their promotion. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer, 7 defeats in a row means Fulham are going down with a whimper. Parker never stood a chance of keeping them up. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online, he hasn't won a game yet, will surely take Fulham down, and Leicestershire will hope to do the bulk of his work in the summer and next season if given the job full-time. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live over £100 million spent in the summer and it has been a disaster for Fulham. Parker is now the third manager of the season and it is mission impossible for the Cottagers, who are heading back to the Championship.